so many people finish the section and score like 150.
Yeah.
But you don't have to finish the section to score 170.
Hello and welcome to episode 503 of the Thinking LSAT podcast. I'm Ben Olson. With me is Nathan Fox. We're the co-founders of LSATdemon.com and the LSAT Demon Daily podcast. Today, we're going to talk about our book that's coming out, The LSAT Is Easy. That's going to be released on, April 16th?
Yeah, as you hear this, it will have been released already for 5 days or so.
Okay.
If you're listening on, if you're listening on the release day of the show. It's called The LSAT Is Easy. We've been teasing it for a long time on this podcast. We've priced it as cheaply as Amazon will possibly let us sell it. We're going to make $0.00 off of every sale of the book, Ben. Maybe that's not the best strategy, but we've been talking about the book for so long. We want to get it out there in everybody's hands. The theory is that people will be able to, hey, buy multiple copies for your friends and family.
Yeah.
It's called The LSAT Is Easy. It's available on Amazon for $6.27. I wanted to talk about, we sent out a preview to various subscribers. They've already seen chapters from the book. And one of the things that resonated a lot, we got tons of emails. Thank you to those of you who emailed us back about the preview of the book. We got tons of emails that mentioned specifically this chapter, that it's the 5th chapter of the book, but it's about how to break into the 150s, how to break into the 160s, how to break into the 170s. The general idea is it's easier than you think. Just probably do fewer questions, take your time on them, really solve those questions, and that'll help you get to the 150s, 160s, and beyond.
Yeah, so let's jump into the numbers, right? I mean, why is it so much easier to get into the 150s, say, than most people think?
Well, we see students all the time who come to us, they're struggling in the 120s, the 130s, the 140s, and they've always got their eye on the 160s and 170s.
Mm-hmm.
The purpose of this exercise is to kind of get you to break it down into some smaller goals.
Yeah.
To get to the 150s, you on a recent scoring scale, you would have needed 39 total points on the test. So 13 per scored section.
Mm-hmm.
And it just blows people's mind to hear this advice. But to get 13 per section, sometimes people do all 25 questions and they get 9 or 10 of them right. That's not going to get you into the 150s.
Yeah.
But what will get you into the 150s is, again, 13 points per section. And at the extreme, if you just did the first 10 questions, which, by the way, those are the easy ones on average.
Yeah.
If you just did the first 10 questions, got all 10 of those right, solve those 10 questions, which we believe you can do. Take your time, solve those 10 questions, randomly guess on the remaining 15 in that section.
Mm-hmm.
And there's your 13 points. So you can unlock the 150s from, if you're in the 130s or the 140s, you probably just need to do dramatically fewer questions with dramatically higher accuracy, which you should be able to do because you're going to have more time to unlock each one of those questions.
Yeah, it's funny too, because not only do you immediately get into the 150s when you get the first 10 right and just guess on the remaining questions, but you also get this long-term benefit, which is, okay, you slowed down, you did the first 10 questions as best as you possibly could.
Yeah.
Hopefully you got all 10 of them correct. Maybe you got 9, maybe you got 8 of them right, but hopefully you got all 10 of them correct, which means you're practicing doing it right as opposed to practicing doing it wrong, which is what people do when they try to do 20 questions, 25 questions. You're practicing getting questions wrong.
Yeah.
And you think that's good for you.
Ben, it's like waves of refugees coming to us from other shitty LSAT prep.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't, this test, I just can't wrap my head around it. I've been working hard for 2 years on this test. I just can't seem to
I
escape the
understand the
yeah.
basics. I understand the fundamentals,
I
but
did the whole core curriculum of 4 different test prep companies.
yeah.
And then you look at their practice tests and they're like attempting 19, 20 questions in the section and they're only getting 8 of them right.
And they're beating themselves up for not getting to the last 4, right?
Exactly. They're mad about the ones they didn't get to at the end. They're not noticing all the easy ones they missed along the way. And it's like, okay, look, we could get you to the 150s today, but it's going to require you to actually solve the questions instead of just skimming the surface, falling into traps. You got to actually dig in there and really get some traction on the test, actually
Mhm.
understand it. And if you do, you'll find that the first 5, the first 10, those ones tend to be easier on average than the rest of the section. So you spend more time on the easier questions, you get them right, randomly guess on everything in the remainder of the section. You get a few of those right just for free, for just bubbling in a bubble. Next thing you know, you're looking at 13 or 14 points, which is a score that gets you into the 150s. And it builds a foundation for the next step. What
Yeah.
do you have to do to get into the 160s?
Okay, to get into the 160s, you need 54 questions, right? At least on, a recent scaled test.
Yep.
That's an average of 18 questions correct per section. Again, you don't have to do 18 questions. You could do 16, get those right, the first 16 questions, guess on the remaining 9, 10 questions, get a few points there, and you're going to get to 18 per section, which will then get you to 54 total questions correct, which will get you into the 160s.
Yeah. And if you can do the first thing, right? So if you can get the first 10 in a row right
Mm-hmm.
to crack into the 150s, then it makes it easier to do the next thing, which is, all right, we're going to do 16, 17, 18 questions. We're going to get almost all of those right, if not all of those right. Still randomly guess at the end. Next thing you know, I've got my 18 points per section. I'm into the 160s. I've got some momentum. I'm starting to believe now that the LSAT actually is easy. At that level, you're starting to get the sense that, oh, I can solve any question. I just have to take the time to actually solve it.
Yeah. Now, to be clear, when we wrote this book, we wrote about breaking into the 150s and then into the 160s and then eventually into the 170s. But it's not like you go from trying to do 10 questions in a section perfectly to trying to do 16 questions perfectly. Let's try to get the first 5 correct, then let's try to get the first 10 correct.
Yeah.
Then let's try to get the first 11 correct. It doesn't need to
Right.
be,
I was
it's not
going to
going to be
say,
this jump, right? Yeah.
I thought you were going to go to 15 next. And I was like, well, yeah, it's not even that, those are totally arbitrary. What
Yeah.
we're doing is we're just giving you some sort of data points so that you can get a sense of what happens at every level if you just maintain high accuracy. It's like nothing but good things happen. And,
Hmm.
to look at the 160 level again, just do 16 questions with near perfect accuracy. Guess on the rest, and you're at basically 160, which beats 75% of all test takers.
Yeah.
I mean, that puts you above the median LSAT at almost all law schools, not the top law schools, but it puts you above the medians at, well, let me see if did I actually mean that? Hold on. I'm going to look it up. LSATdemon.com/scholarships. I'm going to look at a representative middling school in the middle of the, 200 ranked schools.
Hmm.
How about American University? Ranked 104th in the country.
Okay.
Median LSAT, exactly 160.
Mm.
Okay, so do fewer questions, focus on accuracy. By the way, this is just an intermediate step. 16 questions per section with near perfect accuracy gets you to 160, which is, that's basically the median LSAT of all law schools in the United States.
The crazy thing about this advice is that it works in part because so many other people are trying to do the exact opposite. They are trying to finish That's what's hurting them. If
Yeah.
they knew what you know now,
Yeah.
this would be more of a competition.
Yeah. Well, and like the LSAT prep game would be more of a competition
Yeah.
if other prep companies gave advice like this. Like, what are you kidding me? Like, well, because what they do instead is they start on day one going like, well, there's 25 questions in the section and you have 35 minutes. So if you divide 25 by 35 minutes, you get 85 seconds per question. And you need to make sure that you keep it moving to do every question within 85 seconds. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to finish the section. And they're giving that like a
And make sure
blanket
you
advice.
calm down. Make sure you relax.
Yeah. Stay calm. Oh, you're not going to have enough time to actually read everything. No. But you're going to just calmly skim all 25 questions.
Are you looking for ways to
Fuck.
kind of speed this along? Well, you could read the question first, and then you'll know what you're looking for, so you don't have to waste time looking for things that you don't need.
Just gimmicky bullshit, and it just doesn't work. But I mean, it's why we've been so successful, because we give it like common sense, basic advice.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, how do you get from the 160s then to the 170s? What's the next? I mean, it's not the next step because probably there's 165.
Yeah, there's a bunch of intermediate steps, but if you're in the high 160s and you're trying to get to a 170 or higher, you need 22 points per section. So what does that mean? That means you need to do really, really, really well on 20, 21, 22 questions and then guess on the rest.
Yeah, you need 22 points per section to score a 170, which beats 97% of all other test takers.
Mm-hmm.
So many people finish the section and score like 150.
Yeah.
But you don't have to finish the section to score 170. Just accurately solve the first 10, then the first 15, then the first 20. And yeah, to crack the 170s, you're probably going to need 22 points. Do 21 questions with perfect accuracy. Guess on the rest. There's your 22 points.
Yeah.
At every step along the way, you're going to get paid for the work you do. You're not going to be just doing a bunch of shitty work that gets rejected to you. I mean, that's what it is on the LSAT. If you miss the question, it's like, sorry, that one didn't count. I don't care how much time you spent on it. It's still a 0 because you missed it. And what you should have been doing instead is spending more time actually solving that question and turning the 0 into a 1 before moving on to the next question.
Yeah.
Blanket advice that applies at every level. We've sent people to literally Yale Law School who didn't finish the LSAT.
Did not finish. Yeah.
Yeah. We've sent plenty of people not to Yale Law School who did finish. Because it's easy to finish and miss them all.
Yeah.
Like the challenge is to actually solve the questions just one at a time, which is what LSAT Demon is built for, to just hit drill and just do one question at a time.
Just learn.
This book is another way of teaching that same lesson. Book's called The LSAT Is Easy. It's available on Amazon.
I do want to move on, but before we do, because I know we're going to get this objection, and we get it all the time, and that is, I understand what you're saying. I understand that I need to prioritize accuracy over speed, but
that's not what I said. I said you need to focus only on accuracy. not balance.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But don't I have to do more questions eventually?
Yeah. But just don't worry about that part.
Yeah.
Instead, worry about the question you're actually working on now. Solve that question. The LSAT will get easier and easier. You'll start to recognize shortcuts along the way. I mean, the wrong answers will basically start looking like complete garbage. And you'll go quickly through wrong answers. Because you'll know what you're looking for. You'll know what makes an answer right. You'll know what makes an answer wrong. You'll get in this rhythm where you read the first few words of a wrong answer and you're just like, nah, next.
Yeah.
But you don't do that by gimmicks like reading the question first or skimming the passage. That's just not how it's done. I mean, to get to 180, you need to get basically every question right. So that our method is how you get to 180.
Yeah.
By getting all of them right that you do. And so every step along the way, you should just be focused on, I'm not worried about the ones that I'm not going to get to. I, I'm worried about the ones that I do get to
Yeah.
and actually making sure that I'm getting paid for that work. I have to do accurate work. I promise the test will unlock if you do it this way. It'll get easier and easier. And this is where 30-point improvements come from, right? Fundamentally changing your understanding of the test.
Hey, your comments about speed reminded me of something yesterday. I taught class yesterday. In class, we do questions. We were doing logical reasoning questions, and I asked people to fill out a poll saying, "Hey, which questions do you want to go over?"
Okay.
Not everyone fills out the poll, but yesterday in the second set of questions, everyone who did fill out the poll, I've never seen this before. Everyone who did fill out the poll wanted to review one of the questions.
Wow. Okay.
So it was 100% interest of those who responded to go over this question, and it had to do with averages.
Mhm.
And we're going through the question, and it talks about averages, and I talked about how an average can be a misleading statistic.
Mm.
And I gave the example of, hey, if I live in a neighborhood with Jeff Bezos,
Oh, yeah.
and they told us the average income of that neighborhood, it would be essentially meaningless in terms of trying to identify what my income is.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody seemed to get that. And there were some questions when we finally finished going through all the answers, but not very many. It's, do you spot the issues as you're going through the passage and then just go find the answer?
Yeah.
Or do you just not spot it and then get lost in a sea of words, debating between answers that are wrong and unrelated?
Yeah. Yeah. You turn level 5 difficulty questions into level 1 difficulty questions
Mm-hmm.
by attacking the passage in the first place. You really see what's there. You either recognize that it's a valid argument, or you more often see why it's not a valid argument. And that little inkling, that little spark of disagreement later just turns into the answer.
Mm-hmm.
Even on some of the hardest questions you'll ever see, if it would have been so much easier if you would have just slowed down and really attack that argument in the first place. Once you see the battlefield, then it's a lot easier to win
Yeah.
the battle.
Yep. All right. So you said this is coming out on the 21st, Monday.
Yep.
Tomorrow, April 22nd, that's the June LSAT registration deadline. Any tips?
That's just very easy analysis. Look at your timed practice test scores. If those timed practice test scores are the kinds of scores that you think is going to get you to the school you want to go to at the price you want to pay, and you could use our scholarship estimator to give yourself an idea, lsatdemon.com/scholarships.
Mm-hmm.
If it looks like you're going to get into the kinds of schools at the kinds of prices that you think is a good value, given the fact that only 19% of law students in the United States pay full price. If you're happy with what the estimator would be predicting at your current level of practice test scores, then yeah, register for the test. Take it in June. Plan on also taking it in August, September, and beyond, because everybody needs a backup. But if you're 10, 15 points away from your target score, your current practice test scores are not going to get you in where you want to go, or they're going to get you in, but you're going to end up having to pay way too much for your JD, then just don't register. Pretty simple.
Pretty simple.
And if you are registered, but you're miles away, you still can reschedule. You can push that test date for no charge. Up to the registration deadline, you can push your test date for no charge. So many of you who hear this, you registered a long time ago, but you now look at your PTs and you're not ready. I mean, it's just crazy not to reschedule for a future test date.
Yeah. All right. Let's jump into these marketing gimmicks from law schools. We have wait lists and seat deposits. I saw this title and it immediately made me think of my son who's a junior in high school. He gets letters every other day from colleges, and it's just wild to me the money that they spend on these things. I mean, he gets anything from a simple postcard to a full-blown magazine that is
Yeah.
just going through all the benefits of what it's like to be a freshman at so and so
Yeah.
university. And you're just like, wow, I know the amount of money that's going into this because there's a lot of money that can be made, especially
Yeah.
with out of state students.
Yeah.
It's wild.
I got that. You just gave me like a flashback because I remember I took the PSAT or whatever, sophomore, junior year of high
Yeah.
school. I took the PSAT and I did well enough that I started getting unsolicited. I remember two magazine style things that came in the mail. One of them was from Cornell
Mm-hmm.
and one of them was from Wash U
Wash you.
in St.
Okay.
Louis. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess they do the same strategy for undergrad, but they were just out there fishing for high test score
Mm-hmm.
kids. I don't remember anything about scholarships at the time. I just remember thinking, what? I'm in Ripon, California,
Yeah.
outside of Modesto. Nobody's ever heard of either of those places. And I'm getting mail from Cornell?
Yeah.
This is so strange. But that's the game, I guess. Anyway,
There's a girl I liked in high school who was from Modesto, so I'd heard of
really?
Modesto.
Oh, well, yeah, you were a Northern California boy anyway. So we're at the time of year when law schools, they've put out their initial offers
Mm-hmm.
and they've also put a bunch of people on wait lists. And now you get to see them really scrambling to try to fill their spots. And we've talked about reject rates on the show recently.
Yep.
Most schools get rejected by most of the people they admit
Hmm.
because students are sensibly applying broadly. Schools have to admit too many people in order to fill their spots or in order to, try to trick some people into paying actual tuition.
Yeah.
They put out tons of scholarship offers, tons of shitty offers too, and then do some maneuvering around. So this is all stuff that our team has posted on our Slack. We got every year we have a bunch of people who are also applying to law school along the way.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see these emails from Campbell School of Law?
No, I'm ready to read them though.
Go for it.
Okay, so the first email was sent around 9:30 a.m.
Yep.
And apparently there was a second email that was sent about 90 minutes later.
These are those two emails. Yeah.
Okay. So this is the first email. Dear admitted student, we have recently experienced a surge in deposits that has motivated us to send this message sooner than expected. We are currently at 95% capacity for the fall of 2025 class. If you have not deposited and wish to join us this fall, please deposit as soon as possible. The moment we reach capacity, semicolon.
Yeah.
Okay, that wasn't a complete sentence.
No,
So you
that
can't
was
put a
not.
semicolon there.
No.
The moment we reach capacity, we will close the deposit portal. To be clear, an offer of admission does not guarantee, and that's in bold, a seat for the fall. A $400 non-refundable seat deposit does guarantee your seat. I wish they would have used sufficient. That would have been fun. What happens if we close the deposit portal and you have not deposited? If we close it, any admitted candidate who has not deposited will be placed on a wait list.
Okay.
Okay.
90 minutes later.
Yep. Wow. Dear admitted student, we have reached capacity for our fall 2025 class and our deposit portal is closed. If you are an admitted student who has not deposited, your status will officially change to waitlist in our system sometime today or tomorrow. We will then send a confirmation message of that status change. Please let us know if you remain interested in Campbell Law, and we will make note of it in our files. If spaces become available, we will be certain to reach out via email or phone. Okay.
You can keep reading
Wow.
one more sentence if you want to get mad again about grammar.
Okay, sure. If you're receiving this and have already declined your spot, please omit this message.
Omit.
How about disregard, ignore?
Yeah, omit is like if you were writing it, like you could have omitted the semicolon in your first email.
Mhm.
And in your second email, you could have omitted the word omit. Well, you could have chosen a different word that meant what you meant it to say. What do you think is going on here?
Okay. Well, it does seem like one, they over admitted students, which isn't surprising at all.
Literally
That's what they
every law
do.
school does this.
Yeah, it's like flights, right?
I mean,
They
maybe not
overbook.
Yale or whatever, since 3/4 of their admitted students actually say yes to them.
Yeah,
I
but
think
they're
it's
still gonna,
possible
they
that
still
if
have to
everyone
admit.
said yes,
Yeah.
Yale would probably take them.
Mm.
But a school like this can't do that, I don't think.
That's
If everybody
wild.
said
Wait,
yes
why do
to
you think they can't do that? Law school is not particularly class size sensitive, is it?
No, but I was just thinking, well, let's look at the numbers for Campbell exactly. Okay, so Campbell is ranked 134th in the country. They only received last year 1,124 applications. They offered admission to 387 of them, and then they enrolled 190. So I guess just the thing is that if everybody said yes, they would have then twice as big of a class as they're used to having. And I agree with you that there is no like real reason why not to do that. You just need more chairs, I guess.
Yeah, well, the people who are probably making these decisions are following policy as opposed to trying to make money.
Say more.
If you were in the admissions office and you actually could earn a portion of the revenue that comes from admitting more students, I think you'd figure out a way to admit more students.
Oh, if you're paid like commission. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they actually would. Well, but then they're lying though, right? So, which is it?
Wait, what do you mean? They'd be lying here?
Yeah,
Oh, well, I don't think they would have closed the portal. That's all.
they would keep it open.
They would keep it open. It's like, hey, keep the gravy coming.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so, there's just another interpretation of all of this, which is that they're lying from jump.
Yeah.
This type of thing does happen in the world, right? Like that
I
Ford
wouldn't be
Focus that you
surprised.
were shopping
Yeah.
for, it's
Mhm.
probably not literally the only one in the county,
Yeah.
but they're going to tell you it's the only one in the county because they want you to buy it right now today.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't be shocked that the first email was an exaggeration. They said they were at 95% capacity. It could have been closer to like 70. But by the time they got the second email, I suspect there's some truth to this. Otherwise, why
Or,
close the portal?
well, because it's all a negotiation. I mean,
Oh, put people on a wait list, and now it's like, oh, you feel
hell
like
yeah.
you feel desperate to get in because boy, you didn't make it, and
Hell
you'll
yeah.
accept full price. Yeah, totally could be.
This is the kind of school that discounts 99% of their they discount 99% of their students, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Think about this too. They said, if you're still interested, let us know. And we will make
Exactly.
note of it in our files. And so what they might do is turn around and say, hey, you're in luck. One of the
Yeah.
admitted students
Yeah.
has decided to walk away.
Now,
And so are you willing to accept full price and come to our university?
I'm not saying it is a lie. I'm just saying it could be a lie. Like this scenario makes a lot of sense. What if they were actually at 50% of capacity and they sent both of these emails as like a move?
Totally. And it looks like it because 90 minutes later, everybody's like, oh shit, it filled
Yeah.
up. In
Oh my
fact, you have
God.
to send the
Oh.
second email because if you don't send the second email, everybody's like, it didn't fill up. You only had
Right.
5% left and it didn't fill
Yeah.
up. I guess
I
we're
could
good.
just see like their marketing team scheduling both of these emails.
Yeah.
They could have had them scheduled for months.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's what we'll do. On April 4th or whatever it was when these emails came out,
Yeah. 2 days before our closest competitor has a deposit deadline or something.
we'll send an email saying we're at 95% capacity.
Mm-hmm.
That should get some interest. Some people are jump in to try to be those last one. What if they have like 5 people who they've been talking to who they think are like pretty hot leads? It's like, okay, these people, and we didn't offer them a scholarship, or we offered them a really shitty scholarship,
Yeah.
but they haven't signed yet. Okay, let's send out this email saying that we're at 95% capacity and that an offer of admission does not guarantee a seat for the fall, and that you have to send in your $400 to guarantee your seat. And then like 90 minutes later, whether they have or haven't submitted the deposit, will then move everybody to the wait list.
Yep.
Then they can tell us how, they can beg us. I don't know. I'm not saying it is definitely
We have no
a thing.
idea, but it's certainly possible. And even if Campbell is not doing such shenanigans, it's highly likely that at least one law school out there is.
Out of 200 schools in the country
that are desperate for students.
that are very desperate for students, especially schools that are in this type of a ranking, like these are not, they're trying to charge Harvard prices for a distinctly non-Harvard education. I mean, I guess it's not actually Harvard price, but it is $51,000 a year.
That's not what Campbell should be priced.
That's $51,000 a year in Raleigh. I mean, the South is generally cheap, right? So it's like that's an awful big chunk of change for
Wait,
their
what percentage of students pay full price? Pay that?
one.
Oh, see, that seems like something where the Department of Education should show up
Oh yeah.
and not arrest someone to deport them to another country, but arrest that person and say, I'm sorry, but you've been seriously abused and we're here to protect you. And we're going to help you avoid continuing to pay for this school.
They're going to show up and arrest somebody. It's going to be the administration.
Yeah. Well, they're gonna grab the person who's paying full price and then take them into the administrative office and say, "Hey, let's work this out because you're screwing this one person at this university."
They do presumably arrest people for taking advantage of Medicare, right? If you like open up a pill mill and just see how many prescriptions for painkillers you can write. Eventually, they're going to come after you for defrauding the United States, for defrauding Medicare, basically.
Sure.
Right? These schools are like just designed to siphon money out of the student loan system.
Yeah. Well, they're taking. Yeah. That's exactly right, actually. Yeah, because that student is getting screwed, but so is the federal government or the taxpayer.
Well, because it's not a good investment. It's not an investment that any rational person would actually make. If you had to borrow private money in order to finance an endeavor like this, either no loans available or, I mean, certainly not for these people who are actually the ones getting the degrees, right? That's why they're always like, if you don't qualify for the federal funding, you're going to have to get outside loans. And if that happens, then you're probably going to want to get a cosigner because like the banks will literally not fund this.
Yeah. Well, the very people who are most qualified to get the loans don't need to because they're getting the scholarships.
Yeah. Should we look at more shenanigans from
let's keep going.
Deposit deadlines?
Well, apparently, I guess let's just wrap this one up. Apparently, Notre Dame did the same thing a few years back in 2021. Their numbers were a little more stark. It says the University of Notre Dame Law School told admits to put down deposits before spots ran out, just like Campbell did. On Tuesday, seats went from 67% to 100% claimed in a matter of hours. Okay, I don't know where the Tuesday comes from, but whenever this happened, yeah.
Yeah, this was back in 2021, April 11th of 2021. So exact same time of year. Wow. This was a $600 deposit to Notre Dame. And they went from 2/3 full to full in the same day.
In a matter of hours. So, wow.
Notre Dame has set up a continued interest form for admitted students who couldn't make deposits in time. The university has said that if spots opened up, preference will be given to those who completed the form. And I wonder, I would guess that if they had made a scholarship offer to you, but you did not timely submit your deposit, now they're full. Now you're going on a separate, it's got to be a new deal, right?
Yeah, well, also, anyone who fills out the form and was not offered a scholarship, you're tipping your hat. You're saying, hey, I'm willing to pay full price.
Yes.
Wait, what does tipping your hat mean then?
Tipping your hat's like, good one, dude.
Oh, okay.
Tipping your hand is showing your cards.
Showing your cards. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're tipping your hand and showing that you're interested, even though they haven't offered you any scholarship. Yeah, they're gonna make some room for those sort of high-paying students. It's like paying
Yeah.
first class but getting in the back of the plane.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll pay the first class fare to take that middle seat in the last row.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next to the bathroom.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, okay. So what happened at Howard? I'll read this one, I guess.
Sure. Yep.
This is redacted. There's parts of this that are redacted. Okay. We have good news. This says Howard. Your application has been reviewed, and we are highly impressed with your credentials. Based on your achievements and potential, oh, yeah, this made me laugh when I saw it on Slack. We would like to extend a pending admissions decision in
What the
bold.
hell? Space.
It's all
M
caps.
dash.
Yeah. Pending admissions decision in bold with caps. It's trump case. Dash. A designation reserved for outstanding candidates we hope to admit once space becomes available. Due to the exceptionally strong applicant pool and the volume of offers currently extended, we are unable to make a formal admission offer at this time. However, please consider this a bold, tentative offer. As soon as seats open due to withdrawals, we anticipate converting your status to full admission. Importantly, here's where they get you. We kindly ask that you fill out the form below to confirm your continued interest in being considered for admission. This will allow us to keep you in consideration for potential openings as they arise. It's like, yeah, no, I can't go out with you this Saturday night. But
if my current date cancels, I'll give you a call right away.
I would
Pending
love to see what these
admissions-
forms look like. Next time,
Yeah.
these are great. These screenshots from these emails are awesome because it gives you a sense of like what these admissions folk are doing. But I would love to know what that form looks like too, because they could presumably they ask you any question. You know, like if I was fishing, I don't know, just ask a bunch of questions and see what they say.
Yeah.
See what kind of information they give me. You know.
Yeah.
It could be a like wide variety of things you could ask. Like questions that might indicate how willing they are to pay though. How many other schools have you applied to? What other schools have you been admitted to?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. You could just ask so many you could also fish by asking questions like, hey, it might be a good time for them to say, hey, I noticed that you improved your LSAT by 13 points. You didn't could you tell me a little more about that?
Yeah.
To see if someone would stupidly disclose that they were accommodated.
Yeah. I mean, all sorts of things, right? It's
Yeah.
wild because when you're an unsuspecting applicant,
Yeah.
all sorts of benign seeming questions can actually be quite telling.
Well, it's a negotiation.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to prepare yourself for these. Like you're doing battle when you talk to any of these people. I mean, from day one.
All right, let's go to Georgetown. Apparently it has 3 tiers to its wait list. Oh, yeah, we've heard about this before. These are the tiers. So Georgetown Law, you can be on the wait list. You can be on the preferred wait list. Or you can be, quote, we placed you in a special group within our preferred waiting list.
There's like the line outside the door at the club. Then inside the club, there's the VIP area.
Mm-hmm.
And then inside the VIP area,
Special group.
there's a special table inside the VIP group of the club where there's already a line of people standing outside.
Keep in mind, you're not in the club yet. You're waiting to go backstage or something, I guess.
You're trying to get to the special table inside the balcony of the I don't know. My metaphor is breaking down. I don't go to clubs. I don't know. I don't know
yeah, well, the point with all of this, though, right, is that it's opportunities to get you to reveal how important the school is to you and thus really how much you're willing to pay. Even this pending admissions decision, what the hell? That's just a waiting list.
It's a waiting list for the waiting list, and it's crafty of them because they don't have to make an actual decision on you. So they don't have to just waitlist you which people rightly understand
Mm-hmm.
that if you're waitlisted, it's basically a no.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, it's like, hey, we're about to admit you. You just got to tell us, you got to answer a few more questions. You got to tell us a little bit more about your background and your, how's it going? How's it going this year? How's the application cycle going for you?
Yeah.
Would you mind telling us what other schools you applied to and exactly what they offered you? I don't know. I mean, it just seems like a way that they can, just kind of ask you some questions without making any kind of a formal decision. They don't have to admit you, which could hurt their yield if you say no to them.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't have to waitlist you, which might make you just, say, all
Walk
right,
away.
I'm
Yeah.
done. Instead, it's this waitlist for the
Stringing you along.
admitted decision. Kind of crazy, really. We got an email here for you, Ben. This is coming to us from Jean Paulo, and the subject is, why didn't Ben like his clerkship?
Okay. John Paulo writes, "Hey folks, first of all, love the LSAT Demon. I find the work fun and the explanations helpful. As the title suggests, I'm curious about why Ben did not enjoy his federal clerkship. Just a quick correction there. I didn't have a federal clerkship with a judge. I worked in the Department of Justice in the Civil Rights Division. Anyways, John Paulo continues, researching legal careers, I think the path that sounds most interesting to me is the federal clerkship. Helping judges write opinions on rulings sounds like a dream. It seems to me that the work is really important, and I love reading, writing, and researching. They're skills I'd love to master, and by far what I have the most natural aptitude for, although I definitely want to improve. Thanks for the insight." I guess I can't really speak to your question, John Paulo, because I didn't work for a federal judge or have a federal clerkship. But I will say that for me, I had the opportunity to write a brief for the Third Circuit Court of Appeals. That seems like the kind of work most attorneys aspire to do, and they don't have the opportunity to do until they're much further along in their careers. But I didn't find it enjoyable to sit there and rework boilerplate that other attorneys had written for similar cases. And I just found myself putting pencils in my eyes. So I decided law was not for me.
Does John Paulo understand what opportunities are out there? Because I didn't know that do people make a career out of being a federal clerk?
I don't think they do. I feel like it's maybe a 3-year stint at the longest. I think it's more like 1 or 2. And then you go back into big law or something. You leverage that. Sure, if you want to become a judge, but still, that's way down the line.
Yeah, way down the road. Keep researching, John Paulo. There is a big difference between federal clerkships and just clerkships generally, as far as what kinds of connections those jobs are going to, set you up for. It's real easy to lateral into big firms from federal clerkships. Might not quite be the same thing from state clerkships. They're just not as competitive, not as prestigious. And yeah, it's not the long-term career that you're thinking it is. It's a step along the way to practicing in other contexts.
I would also recommend listening to episode 418. That's Demystifying Judicial Clerkships with Eliza Schatzman.
Yeah.
Anyways, something to check out.
Nice.
Okay, cool. Let's go to this next one. The subject line is can't verbalize why. This is coming to us from Tim.
Okay, so for some context, Tim had a cold diagnostic of 154, and after a month of studying, Tim is at 164. Nice.
Yeah.
Hi, Ben and Nathan. I've always been a pretty decent multiple choice test taker. I have a strong ability to absorb information and intuit the right or wrong answers, especially after using the process of elimination. However, I often find that I can't succinctly verbalize why an answer is right or wrong like you guys do in your explanations. I just know. It almost feels more of a subconscious than a conscious process. This has worked well for me for level 1 through 3 and even some level 4 questions, but I find It doesn't work so well for the most difficult questions. My concern is that I might be using mental heuristics to shortcut to the right answer without truly becoming an expert in the material. Is this actually a problem, or do I just need to trust the process and as long as the score continues to go up, it doesn't actually matter? Thanks for your time. Best, Tim.
Tim, this is great. It shows that you're doing the test intuitively, which is what we're trying to get everyone to try to learn how to do. You don't need to worry about the questions that you get right and understand intuitively. What you do need to worry about is the questions that you don't understand or get wrong. And in that case, you need to dig in a little bit and try to understand the underlying logic that made that answer right or wrong.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of me when I was first starting out with the LSAT.
Hmm.
I was a good natural multiple choice, especially test taker, pretty intuitive, commonly able to just tell what the right answer is. Then, as soon as I sat down with a study buddy and tried to explain why
Hmm.
I chose the answer I chose, it was like, well, I don't know. I mean, it can't be that one, and it can't be that one. Just kind of seems this one is, yeah, I don't know. It's right. And I realized that, yeah, I didn't, over the years, we've developed a fluency with the test that where we're able to like actually get in there and explain why the right answers are right and why the wrong answers are wrong. But
Yeah.
I will point out, Tim, that it's really not important that you know exactly why every wrong answer is wrong.
Hmm.
That's useful for explaining it. If you're going to be an LSAT teacher, that's a useful thing to be able to do.
Yeah.
And you're sitting there with a fellow student, now they might really want to know why it's not B, and it's not B, but you don't know why. You're going to stumble there. You're going to learn something about the test in the process of articulating to them exactly why it's not B. But in the moment when you're just doing your test, Tim, you don't need to know. You just need to know that 4 out of 5 answers are wrong. Wrong answers can be wrong for multiple reasons. If you think it's wrong, it's probably wrong. That said, sometimes you eliminate all 5 answers doing that sort of thing. And so you've got to figure out how to reason your way back around to it to see, oh, wait a minute, this one really is clicking. This one is answering the question. These other 4 are not. I think Tim's doing well.
Yeah. Tim's doing great. This much progress in 1 month is immense. So,
Yeah, I like don't worry about the stuff you're not getting, like level 5s, who cares? You're still at 164. I think we should get you to 170 before we really start worrying about how well you're doing on the hardest questions on the whole test.
hmm.
Those questions, level 5 difficulty questions, like they're there to differentiate the 175s from the 174s. They're not there to differentiate the 170s from the 164s.
Hmm.
You just need to make sure you're acing all of the questions you're attempting, Tim. And if you do what? If he does 19 or 20 questions in the section, he's already improving his score, right?
Yeah.
Anything more for Tim?
No, keep us posted. Keep doing what you're doing. Ready for the Personal Statement Gong Show?
Might not last long. This is the segment of the show where we start reading someone's personal statement. Today, Angel is our next contestant on the Personal Statement Gong Show. The deal is we stop reading when we lose interest.
Yep.
And last time we did this, we lost interest after one line or half a line.
Mm-hmm.
That was the shortest anybody's ever kept our attention, was half a line. And the longest anybody's kept our attention is 5 lines. If you think you have what it takes to beat the record, you can send your personal statement to us at help@thinkinglsat.com. But it's time for Angel's moment.
Okay, I'll go ahead and read this. I'm looking at Angel's first sentence. My first job at Applebee's was more than just a source of income, semicolon. It was a crucible that shaped my understanding of work, relationships, and the injustices woven into the fabric of our economy.
Really?
That's a lot.
It's kind of tiring. The semicolon, like pretty much everybody just needs to not use semicolons ever. if it's going to be correct to use a semicolon, you probably could just use a period and start a new sentence. And most people write sentences that are too long. Hence, stop using semicolons and just use a damn period instead.
I agree with that advice. It's interesting. If anyone ever were to use a semicolon, this is the kind of thing that you would use it for, to show contrast, right? It's weird because I feel like this sentence, we've just read one sentence, but I see a lot of little things in here that suggest that the angel knows about the details of writing. He's got the Oxford comma, he's got parallelism here.
I'm going to say she, I think, just because
the
she. Next line says hostess, which makes me think it's probably she.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Anyway, the writing, I think, is near perfect understanding of how things should be structured. The substance is my big problem here. Crucible. Yeah. Wow. That's a huge claim. It's a crucible.
Yeah.
Like, really, how bad was it? And then you talk about work, relationships, and this is where you just like try to bite off way more than you can chew. The injustices woven into the fabric of our economy. From your one job at Applebee's, I'm sure you learned some things about injustices, but boy, it's not even something you want to talk about.
Yeah. Well, it's also like who you lecturing to here.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't come here to learn about the injustices of our economy.
Mm-hmm.
I came here to learn about you, Angel. I want to know about your experience. I want to know who you are in your working life. And the way this is coming off so far is pretty heavy-handed, a lot of words without actually saying anything.
Mm-hmm.
I'm learning that you worked at Applebee's.
Yep.
What more do I know about you besides you worked at Applebee's? I learned that you're about to lecture me on the injustices of the economy.
And you thought that working there was like hell? Because crucible is quite a strong term.
Yeah. I mean, I want to point out a couple other things here. You should try to avoid forms of the verb to be. So is, was, were.
Mm-hmm.
You could choose a more active, like you're making my first job the subject of your sentence instead of making you the subject of your sentence.
Yep.
So it's like things are happening to you, or not even happening to you. It's like you're weirdly describing in third person your job.
Your job was,
and what was it? Well, it was more. It was. So there's you're using to be as your verb here with was.
Yep.
So my first job was, and then you're not telling me what it actually was. You're telling me it was more than just a source of income. I'm like, okay, so what else was it? Oh, it was a crucible. So you use was again in your second sentence or whatever, continuation of your first sentence after the semicolon. You go back to the same verb. Well, it wasn't it was more than that. It was, and then instead of telling me what it actually was, now you go metaphorical with crucible.
Yeah.
And then you can't finish the sentence without using another fucking metaphor.
Yep.
By saying that it's telling you about the injustices woven into the fabric of the economy. So I come away, if that's all I had time for, you know, like we used to say, like, imagine if the phone rang.
Yep.
Right now.
Yep.
And if that's all I read, it's like, hold on a second. I'm in the middle of getting lectured to by an Applebee's employee about crucibles and the fabric of our economy.
Yeah.
It's just not the kind of thing that you're going to be excited to read more of, really.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. So
I don't want to ring the gong just yet, but go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, just to put it in terms of numbers, what I'm seeing here is I'm seeing grammar and punctuation is like a 9 out of 10, but then the substance and the style using, like you said, to be verbs and just the content is like a 1 out of 10. Like, what? You're talking about the wrong thing and you're talking about it in the wrong way.
It's just like, oh, here we go. I'm about to get lectured to by another 22-year-old.
Yeah.
I got to imagine that that's what these people feel like. They've got a whole stack of this shit, and half of them are K through JDs,
Mm-hmm.
and 3/4 of them are talking about shit that happened in high school or college.
Yep.
And they very heavily are weighted in this mode of like, oh, well, you want to hear my philosophies.
Mm-hmm.
You want to hear me. I'm going to break it down to you. I'm going to break
Yeah.
down everything
Yeah. I figured it out.
using my experience at Applebee's, which was a crucible. It's like, look, I'm actually really happy that you worked at Applebee's,
Yeah.
but I want you to be happy about it, not compare it to hell.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want you to be like all like lofty, highfalutin. Like I don't want you to lecture
Like
to
you've
me
unpacked the
secrets,
intricacies
the mysteries
of our economy.
Yeah, it's like, oh, here we go. Here we go. I could just imagine them at the law schools,
Yeah.
which is kind of like the, cracking open the door potentially to where the masters of the universe actually live.
Mm-hmm.
But this is like, you haven't even yet learned your first magical incantation. You're very far from being admitted to the bar. But you're lecturing me, the reader, about the fabric of our economy and all the injustices. Like, that's where I live. I'm responsible for that shit. I am like, the law schools are the man. They're the reason why things are the way they are.
Yeah.
And you're like showing up lecturing to them from your vast experience. I don't know. Yeah, we're off on the wrong foot.
Yeah. We're starting to, someone is pulling up what's the gong, the mallet?
Oh, yeah.
Pulling it up, getting ready to hit it.
Yeah, we're winding up to swing.
Okay. So now that's the end of the first sentence and the end of the first paragraph. The second paragraph starts.
That seems to also kind of argue for you could have made it 2 sentences, right? I mean, I just don't, it's hard to justify to me the semicolon. I don't.
Yeah.
I get it. Like you're fine. Technically, it's fine. That doesn't mean you should do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
As a hostess, my daily tasks involved juggling plates.
Another metaphor, I guess. I mean, I guess it's sort of like you're literally juggling plates, although not as a hostess. Do the hostesses serve?
Also notice this sentence's subject is my daily tasks. So we're talking about your tasks.
So my job was the subject of the first sentence. Now your tasks are the subject of the sentence instead of you. Like, why can't you could have said, I juggled plates. I memorized menus. And instead you say my daily tasks involved juggling plates.
Yeah. Memorizing menus, conversing with customers. Oh, and conversing with customers. Period. Okay. However, that's a pretty heavy way to start a sentence. I quickly discovered that my role extended beyond mere efficiency, semicolon. It was about navigating complex human interactions. I'm done.
Yeah, I'm with you. There's many reasons to ring the gong at this point. It's like you're getting around to telling us something, but you're getting around to telling us something. We think maybe.
It's also just like overly grandiose. Navigating complex human interactions. Like, what the fuck? What is it actually? And I don't know. I just don't even care about that. Like, can you show me doing your job well without talking about navigating complex human interactions? Instead, just show how you, in a practical, friendly, clever way, fixed a complex problem without calling it complex and all this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, notice the construction. The first sentence and the third sentence are like doing the exact same thing again. You've got a semicolon again in the middle of the sentence. And again, it's this was more than this. It was this other thing.
Yeah.
And then in the third sentence, again, my role extended beyond mere efficiency. With the same construction of it was.
Yeah.
It was about this other thing. Holy shit, you're really blowing my mind here with,
Whoa, what? So then tell me, what was the complex human reactions? No, I'm just not interested.
yeah. It, just taking a peek, it
Yep.
turns dark right
Oh
now. The rest
no.
of the second paragraph turns dark.
Okay. Do you want me to keep reading?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I think the gong has officially after 4.5 lines.
Okay.
The gong was rung. That doesn't change our leaderboard. We've still got longest 5 lines, shortest 0.5 lines. But just to see if there's something here that can be salvaged,
Sure.
you want to read the rest of the second paragraph?
Yeah, I will. Although I enjoyed my newfound independence, my outlook quickly soured when I found myself subjected to verbal and physical harassment from my new boss, who frequently directed inappropriate comments to me and sent unsettling texts late at night. That sucks, but don't write about it in your personal statement. The considerable age gap and power dynamic only intensified my discomfort, semicolon. His sexual jokes and unwelcome advances were thinly veiled behind moments like the Employee of the Month award photos we were required to take together. These photos, meant to celebrate my achievements, became haunting reminders of the powerlessness I felt, my unease and forced smiles forever frozen in those still images, a snapshot of the imbalance and complicity that plagued our workplace. Yeah, that sucks. That sucks. Maybe that is hell, but boy, don't talk about it in your personal statement.
That's not what I would be emphasizing. If it, like they want to see you as a happy, successful worker bee winner. And this sucks. I'm not like diminishing your experience, but it's a bummer.
Yeah.
I don't see you as somebody who, like, it doesn't sound like you were thriving at Applebee's. Sounds like you were getting taken advantage of at Applebee's, which sucks. But like the fact that you were taken advantage of isn't a reason for me to admit you to my law school.
Yeah.
And I thought you were supposed to be advocating for yourself. I, you know, the better statements are giving me FOMO already at this point. Like paragraph and a half in, I should be feeling like, oh shit, we got to admit this person.
Yep.
This person's a killer. They're going to be very successful in law school. They're going to successfully practice law. Here's what they're bringing to the table. And instead, this is just like wearing me down. It's like, okay, I'm about to get a political lecture, and then the political lecture is going to start with trauma that you went through.
Look at this. We're in the fourth paragraph. So she goes on to say in the third paragraph that this behavior was tolerated by everyone at the place. They didn't know what to do about it. She just accepted it. But then look at this. Fourth paragraph. During my internship with the Georgia Public Defender's Office, I learned how these skills could be deployed to empower victims of workplace harassment and other systemic issues. Let's hear about your internship at the Defender's Office.
Yeah. It's great that you worked at Applebee's, and that'll show up on your resume, and that's cool. And you could even mention it that you worked at Applebee's and
There were
got
some
several
problems.
Employee of the Month awards.
Yeah.
No, don't even say there's problems. Say that you were Employee of the Month several times. I mean,
Yeah.
stack the deck in your favor instead of stacking it against yourself. When you complain, you look like a problem.
Yeah.
When you complain, you look like the type of person who complains. So I don't want the type of person that complains. I want the type of person who has relevant experience kicking ass at the Georgia Public Defender's Office and Employee of the Month at Applebee's.
Yeah.
Like, you could actually use that in your favor,
Yeah.
but instead you're using it against yourself
Yeah.
because you think that you have to drag us through this like just traumatic story arc or something. I don't know. Like, you learned to write this way at some point. I just don't think it's serving you. If someone reads the first half of a page here, they could read like almost a full third of your personal statement. Maybe it is a third of your personal statement, and only come away with like, this person looks pretty young, looks kind of naive, telling me about how Applebee's taught them the secrets of life, but then all they really are going to do is complain about the trauma that they experienced at Applebee's. And that's like almost to the bottom of the first page of your personal statement.
Yeah.
I if I had to walk away at that point, I just wouldn't have FOMO.
No. And this is interesting too, because look at the second sentence of this fourth paragraph. I assisted my supervisor in building each case by serving subpoenas, attending preliminary hearings, and contacting witnesses. However, the part I looked forward to the most was sitting face to face with clients and taking the time to listen to their stories. Among them, one client stood out, blah, blah, blah. I don't know how much you're going to go into this one client, and you want this personal statement to be about you, not about somebody else. But this is so common. Most people's personal statements really take off 3, 4, 5 paragraphs in. They finally get to the story that actually matters. And then they need to cut everything before and just jump right into the wins and to them doing serious work. In this case, it's legal work. So even better.
Yeah. That said, I don't think that it ends up developing that case very well. Third to the last paragraph is basically like complaining about Title VII of the Civil Rights Act falling short.
Yeah.
I don't, that's not what I'm here to learn about. It's not that I don't care. It's that you're not understanding the assignment.
Yep.
Like, if I'm not learning about you, I'm not here to learn about your political views. I want to know about relevant experience, and I want you to show yourself as a serious person, but like just talk about serious stuff that you've done in the world, which you have.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, look here too. We have this sentence: the lack of adequate enforcement of the Title VII prohibitions, coupled with the fear that many workers feel about reporting abuses, renders these legal protections undependable. Okay, so now you're like venturing into the realm of legal expert, legal philosopher, law professor. It's just you're not qualified.
It's just completely naive, right? I get it. You have relevant experience, kinda, but you're not a lawyer, and you haven't you have not seriously thought these issues through from both sides with the kind of rigor that would be required to get a serious person to like listen to your opinion on it.
Mm-hmm.
You are necessarily giving a kind of a hollow dilettante view of the issue.
Dilettantes. Can you define?
Isn't a dilettante somebody who like dabbles in a person who cultivates an area of interest such as the arts without real commitment or knowledge? So we all are a dilettante in various areas,
Sure.
you know? Like if I
Yeah.
talk to you about pretty much anything, you know, I'm not an expert in that much. I'm an expert in like the LSAT and law
Yeah.
school admissions,
Yeah.
but I'm not an expert in anything else.
Mm-hmm.
So if I tell you about movies or rap music or art, modern art or whatever, it's like, yeah, okay, I'm kind of interested in these things, but I really am not. I'm not an expert.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the real problem here is that applicants love to just, they come with this like expert tone
Mm-hmm.
as if they're like, you know, even the pundits don't know shit,
Yeah.
but you're like coming with these like grand conclusions about, you know, what needs to be done to fix these systems.
Mm.
But meanwhile, like the judges themselves are not in agreement.
Yeah.
Maybe there's more to the story.
Yeah. Okay.
Again, the record remains 5 lines. We went a little bit further there, but the gong would have been rang higher. So the record is still 5 lines, and we should have a name, whoever that was.
Yeah, we should have a name.
I can't
so
remember
they can hold that
personal
title.
statement that was. Yeah.
Josh,
Yeah.
figure it out for us, please.
Now, Angel, 4.5 lines, not quite long enough to be the new record holder. If you, again, if you think you have what it takes to beat the record, you can send it in to help@thinkinglsat.com. We get far more submissions than we can ever read, but we'll keep doing them every once in a while if you keep them coming.
Yep.
All right.
Shifting gears to tips from a departing demon. This one's from Blake.
Blake, on his way out the door, he filled out our exit survey. Thank you for telling us how your experience was, Blake, with LSAT Demon. Blake was happy with the advice he received, and he wrote, "Every word matters. 2 things that are similar are not the same. Words like most, some, all, should, and many are worth quantifying and understanding. If the LSAT comes easy to you, great. If not, don't feel discouraged, but do make a plan and follow it. Practice makes better, not perfect. There is always more to learn and practice. I found the Demon instrumental in my success because it removes any time excuse you may have. Use the app instead of doom scrolling, watch a few video explanations at lunch, or spend 35 minutes on a section. Thank you, LSAT Demon, and all teachers.
Great.
Yeah, just chip away at it. Huh? One question at a time.
Yep.
Last email on the agenda. This is from Anonymous and Ashamed. Apparently, it's a current student. Anonymous and Ashamed. And the title is You Were Right.
Okay. And Anonymous and Ashamed has addressed us as demon daddies.
Well, Becca, I guess, is the LSAT mom. And so that makes us, I guess, the demon dads. That's fine.
Fair. Okay. So Anonymous and Ashamed writes, first, thank you for all the podcasts and great study tools. Second, it pains me to say that you were right when you told us over and over not to register for the LSAT until we were happy with our practice scores. I have T14 aspirations. By the way, that might be T17 now, so it might be a little easier to get your T14 aspirations.
No, it's still the top 14. There's just 17 schools.
In the top 14, yep.
Yep.
Okay, because they tied for 14.
They tied for 14th, Ben.
Yeah.
It's just math.
So Anonymous writes, I have T14 aspirations, Harvard, Yale, Stanford, if we're being real, and started studying in January. My stone cold diagnostic was 154, and
Nice.
I thought registering for April would motivate me to study my butt off.
Yeah. Sometimes people want to do that. People think that's a good plan, and you know yourself, I guess. But I don't know. It just people end up wasting a lot of money doing this, or they end up taking the test before they're really ready.
Yeah, they rush. That's the biggest problem. You rush, which then you rush your law school or LSAT timeline, which sadly and subtly forces you to rush on the individual tests and sections that you do.
So what happened to Anonymous and Ashamed?
It did to an extent, but I got sick 3 weeks before the test while juggling work and travel, and it wrecked my practice schedule. Long story short, I withdrew. I know I need a better score than I'm currently achieving. Who knows if I would have been ready with more time, but it further proves your point. No question here, just more evidence to support your claim in hopes that others will save $238 and a little dignity. Onward. That's what Anonymous and Ashamed writes. I love it. I love the last word there, onward. And I'm glad that you withdrew. I mean, you say you're ashamed, but okay. I mean, you remedied the problem without any serious consequence other than the cost, which is will be forgotten.
No value in being ashamed. I do not think that you should have any loss of dignity here. Yeah, we were right. We've been doing this for a long time, but lots of times people have to hear it 10 times before they finally believe us. Don't register for the test unless you're happy with your timed practice test scores. Otherwise, just keep prepping. Pay attention to the registration deadlines. By the way, we're coming up now, Anonymous, on the deadline for the June test. Again, that deadline is Tuesday, April 22nd. Did you get ready for the June test? You weren't ready for April, so you had to withdraw. Did you immediately re-register for June, or are we now looking out even further? That's fine. Just don't waste the $238 until you're happy with your practice test scores. Once you are happy with your practice test scores, plan on taking it 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, even 5 times, because law schools only care about your highest score. Anything more for Anonymous?
No. Keep us posted. Let's go to word of the week. This one comes from Demon student Paul, who writes, I am part of the Demon Lit Lounge, and in honor of our monthly meeting, I pulled a couple of candidates for word of the week from this month's book, When Breath Becomes Air by Paul Kalanithi. Is that right?
I don't know.
Kalanithi?
Kalanithi?
Do you want to read this sentence?
Yeah, the quote says, again, this is from When Breath Becomes Air. Neurosurgery seemed to present the most challenging and direct confrontation with meaning, identity, and death. Well, yeah. I mean, you got somebody's brain open in front of you or somebody's spine open in front of you.
Yep.
Concomitant with the enormous responsibilities they shouldered, neurosurgeons were also masters of many fields, like, well, neurosurgery, but also ICU medicine, neurology, and radiology. Concomitant is the word of the week. By the way, Demon Lit Lounge is a book club run by Demon team member Amina over on the LSAT Demon Discord server. All you need is a free Demon account, and then you can join the Discord at lsat.link/Discord. Lit Lounge is over there if you want to be part of the book club. You could also participate in one of our AMAs that we host throughout the year where different Demon team members will show up and just chat. You can also find study partners over there. Again, it's lsat.link/Discord. And thank you, Amina, for running the book club. Back to the word of the week.
Yeah.
Concomitant.
Yeah. So to me, it sounds like along with.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, you could take that word concomitant out, and you could just say, along with the enormous responsibilities they shouldered, neurosurgeons were also masters of many fields. So part of being a neurosurgeon means that you also know about ICU medicine. You also know about neurology. You also know about radiology.
Mm-hmm.
Those things are concomitant with the enormous responsibilities of being a neurosurgeon.
Yep.
So, but what would, it sort of means like that it goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
Con means like together, right?
With. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Concomitant is an adjective. It means accompanying, especially in a subordinate or incidental way. Another definition, concomitant as a noun, is something that accompanies or is collaterally connected with something else, like an accompaniment. So you could say ICU medicine is concomitant to neurosurgery. You could also say, that it is a concomitant. ICU medicine is a concomitant of neurosurgery. If you're going to use it as a noun, I guess.
Okay.
Something collaterally connected or connected in a subordinate way. Yeah, lsat.link/Discord. And you can take part in the whole conversation over there. You do need an LSAT Demon free account in order to get access to the Discord.
Okay. Be LSAT famous. Please ask questions or share news with us on our website, thinkinglsat.com, or on our socials at LSAT Demon. If you have questions about the LSAT Demon, email help@lsatdemon.com. You can also check out our other podcast, LSAT Demon Daily. That was episode 503 of the Thinking LSAT podcast. Thanks all y'all for listening. Nice knowing you. Don't pay for law school.